Hello, folks. Today's guest is Thomas de Sousa, the Senior Vice President of Business Development at the AAHOA Association. That's the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, one of the largest hotel owner associations in the world, representing nearly 20,000 hotel owners in the United States. So fantastic to chat to Thomas today just to see how such a huge organization is helping hotels, because in fairness, if what they're focusing on is definitely a good for a small independent hotel to focus on. So Thomas, if you can introduce yourself a little and what the association is about and how it helps hotels.
Excellent. Good morning, Paul. Pleasure to be here. AAHOA, Asian American Hotel Owners Association, represents over 60% of the total U.S. market. We have 36,000 hotels and 19,000 members. All of our members are hotel owners. That's the criteria. They must own a hotel. So we are dealing with the people that own the business itself. And so our goal for this membership is to drive advocacy as it relates on Capitol Hill, to work with training and education, to deal with issues as it relates to the rising costs that are at a higher rate than the rising RevPAR or profit margin on top line revenue. And so we work with industry partners, and those industry partners help us get the greatest deals of savings to help our owners maintain their businesses. And that's what my division of AAHOA handles, the business development team. And since COVID, the whole dynamics have changed as it relates to, the team members and people coming to work or wanting to come to work, as it relates to the costs of goods, everything.
And if you were to believe, obviously I'm in the industry and maybe everything is sensationalized these days, but what they're saying is that it's sort of harder than ever to run a hotel and to make a profit pretty much across the board of hospitality. Is that true? Do you see that on the ground, that it is getting, it's probably as bad a time as ever for the hospitality industry as a whole? Are things as squeezed as people are sort of saying they are?
Yes, things are really tight right now. When you look at some of the reports from, CoStar and some of the others, they're looking at, your ADR growing at 2% for the nation with 62.8% occupancy for the nation. And so when you look at that, it has you with about 27.2% vacant rooms, and your ADR is really what flows to the bottom line. Everything costs you, occupancy costs you expenses. And so it's been extremely difficult. And synergies is really where you find that there's survival amongst these hotel management companies. And that means they have the ability to own multiple hotels, and then through their corporate entity, they're able to drive more and more savings by having like positions cover multiple areas. We saw that years ago with Marriott, where they started to do regional directors of sales and not have people on property. And so they had done that a long time ago just for the savings there, as one example.
And do you think that hides a darker secret of the industry, that there's sort of, this is something it's a reaction to kind of a squeezed price. So then sometimes maybe the numbers can hide a real truth, where if you look at the industry overall, or it's like, well, it doesn't look too bad. The hospitality industry seems healthy enough. And yet, is it being split between the budget travel and then the luxury travel? The gap is kind of getting wider and wider. And are you seeing that? I'm reading about it, but are you seeing that there's an unfortunate thing happening in the sense that there's a split now, and the mid-tier hotels are really struggling?
You're absolutely right. It looks like now what they're showing is your leisure segment and your group segment is growing, but your individual traveler, that corporate traveler, that person on an expense account with a higher, rate that they pay and all that business is slowed down. And so when you're looking at the leisure business, is mainly weekend driven. It's very expensive with high occupancy internally in each of the rooms. Normally with the corporate traveler, you have one person per room, and on the weekends you could have anywhere from 2 to 6 people in an occupied room. And if that includes breakfast and everything else, you're looking at the multiple towels and time to clean the room, et cetera. It's a very costly business. And then the group segment too, they're always looking for that discount for the group business. So I have a group, they're going to take 100 rooms a night. I want a discount. And so they're not paying a premium for that, which I think is going to be a trend for the future. That if you want to take up so many of my rooms, you're going to have to pay a premium to have that exclusivity. And so I think
Wow.
that's something that we're going to look at in the future. But right now, that's not how the base model is set.
And this is where it gets tricky, because I guess that's where, way down on my level, like I'm trying to find angles or insights for the hotel owners that I work with that are slightly achievable, I suppose, that the answers aren't, well, we need to be bigger, we need to play at scale, because almost that's a game that, you can't play if you're a small independent hotel. That's not a game that some
Right.
owner can just get into. So because AAHOA talks a lot about kind of profitability rather than just occupancy, are hotel owners kind of chasing bookings instead of building a profitable business? Are you seeing that they need to completely change how they're looking at running the hotel as they did maybe 20 years ago, that they have to start, it's a different model?
No, that's what they've been doing since COVID. They've been looking at,
Yeah.
again, the synergies, like positions, merging positions. They've been looking at, morphing roles. A general manager of a small hotel that has, less than 125 keys might be the norm of working the front desk 2 shifts a week on top of all their other work. And then you have it trickle down where you have the housekeeper potentially picking up a board of rooms to do. And then on top of that, the chief engineer covering shifts himself, because
Wow.
the manpower shortage is also an issue here in the
Mm.
States. And so to overcome that, plus the actual cost of taxes and benefits is expensive. When you look at, on average, a desk clerk making $35,000, it's really not 35,000 with taxes and benefits. It could be $65,000. And so
Of
that
course.
is, the ability to eliminate a position, and that type of savings will go right to the bottom line. And how do you do that? Not just with efficiencies, but with technology, taking your BI, your business intelligence, and using AI to drive those efficiencies.
Indeed. So I guess you're getting into it. I read something there recently on a statistic, and that last statement you said almost hints at why it's real, where family-owned businesses tend to survive and thrive a lot more. But in a weird way, you just explained why, because everyone's doing multiple roles. It's just everyone is, they're high senior people, and then they're probably doing reception work. They're
Yes.
porters. It's all hands on deck. And when you approach it like that, I guess you can run a really efficient team. But to hire people that will take on that responsibility of your hotel, that's asking a lot, I suppose. That's a very tough culture to develop within a hotel. So I suppose, okay, so if it's streamlining, if it's a model, then yes, one of the answers has to be, I suppose, automation, AI, the efficiencies of the hotel. Is that where you guys are helping a lot of the hotels these days, that you're really trying to teach them and get them into the world of AI as it is?
Well, we do. We have worked with white labeling suites of services. We have something called the AAHOA PMS, which is powered by Muse. We have the AAHOA Marketplace, which is powered by Avendra and Folio. We have AAHOA Lending, which is powered by Bridge. So we white label these expenses and industry standards for hotels to operate to try to gain the buying power and the best pricing for our hotels. And for example, a company like Muse has the ability to use their AI efficiencies to assist the hotel, with scheduling, with purchasing, with paying bills and the timing of paying bills. And these are all things that it really would take a lot of time for a human to think through the process, where AI does it almost magically so quickly. But the hotels that are doing well in this market are the luxury properties and the independent, the full service independent hotels, because they have the food and beverage and all the other amenities. And in the luxury market, it doesn't really affect, the people with that discretionary income. So
Mm.
this is a little blip to them. And so they continue to travel at that high level. But what happens is the small independent, the mom and pop, the roadsides,
Mm.
they're struggling. The brands that are non luxury, non full service, the economy scale brands, they're struggling. But where they're making it up is with the economy brands is their efficiencies and lowering the amount of FTEs, full time exempts at the property level. And that's where AI assists with that.
Do you guys do a lot of training, Thomas? I mean, I only have 2 hotels at the moment that I'm going through, and AI is a big part of that. And as part of their contract, we're sort of slowly implementing as much AI and automation. And we're more on the marketing side, I suppose. But like we have found that it does take a lot of hand holding and training to bring in these softwares that, you can't just dump these kind of complex tools on a hotel and basically an individual. Someone's in charge of it. And the next thing you're asking them to log into a brand new interface, a brand new tool that while on a technical level, it's kind of simple, but every tool is simple really when you know how. But of course, when you don't, it can be incredibly overwhelming. Are you finding pushback on that? Is the training part a massive part of what you guys do?
Well, the onboarding is really important, and
Yeah.
trying to have the seamless integration is the difficult part. So if you deal with a group like ours, they're all different ownership groups. They have all different types of brands, et cetera. And then they have all different types of accounting systems. So we work with a group called M3, and M3
Okay.
is our preferred accounting software. And so they try to integrate with all different types of systems, and they work with Muse, for example. And so then it doesn't make that onboarding or that training as difficult. But of course, you need to have the bodies to train and you need to have the area to train them. And so what we've done is we've created a lot of virtual avatar type training. And so that helps out quite a bit. And I see more and more that hotels are training on the spot or on the job. For example, back in the day when I started in the hotel business, you spent a week on modules before you went out to the front desk. Well, here,
Hmm.
because of the labor situation, you're right out there and you're working, you're training, and your work training is seamless. In other words, you're on a live system and you're working with it with maybe a mentor shadowing you, and so it's not as difficult as you think to change systems, and it's not as difficult for you to integrate or get, up to speed on systems. The problem of it is, AI isn't perfect, okay? And that's where people don't understand that I look at it right now like it's like a compass. It's pointing you in the right direction,
Hmm.
and it's not end all be all. I mean, you could see in many cases when people write an email, that it's been, chat GPT'd and
Yeah.
it's not as sincere at all. And so you get that feeling, and when you pick up the phone, you're talking to, a robot, and it's not that sincere, where it's still the hospitality business, which is a face-to-face people business. And with kiosks and utilizing your iOS, your smartphone, to check you in when you land at the airport, take the shuttle over, bypass the front desk, go to your room.
Hmm.
There's less and less interaction. But when something happens, your CRM has to be so ironclad and
Hmm.
seamless to make sure that things get rectified in a timely manner. And then with the lesser of FTEs on the property level to execute when things aren't perfect,
Hmm.
we're not there yet where we have robots delivering towels or touching up rooms and stuff like that. So you need a person. You need a person.
Yeah.
And I've seen in many cases, I've just traveled myself, stayed at a Marriott property, and the nighttime security guard was delivering towels and doing other things besides what they're supposed to be doing. And so you see that more and more.
And to push you on a few things there, Thomas, because it paints a tough picture, as I said. I mean, on one end, yeah, these efficiencies could help us greatly within, a year, God knows it. We genuinely could have kind of robot cleaners going around rooms that are doing maybe, hoovering. There's, certain roles that they could be doing. Self-cleaning bathrooms are, of course, in like modern hotels in China and Japan and things like this. But does it keep going down this road where, yeah, larger chains buy up hotels and then they just become these kind of self-check-in, self-cleaning that and then the only time to get that personal experience, it keeps going up to luxury and luxury. Like, do you get nervous that something's happening in the hospitality industry that won't be able to get reversed? That divide between personal and automation? How do we ensure we keep it on the line and it stays the hospitality industry? Do those conversations happen within large associations like yourselves?
They do. And I'll give you an example. It's what you're tuned towards or what you're used to. So I'll give you an example. People, when I was starting off in the industry, everything was conversational. Okay.
Hmm.
Today, the younger travelers today, the generation Y and Z, and they communicate electronically. You
Mm,
could be watching a couple at dinner and they're texting each other right across from each other.
mm-hmm.
So it's what you're used to. So if that becomes the norm, the term norm, then that's what people are used to. So you must execute seamlessly with that. You must be able to do all the things that you utilize that personal touch to do, like to upgrade rooms, to try to get people to extend stays and all. You must have a great seamless CRM to communicate using SMS technology with push notifications to do all those things,
Mm-hmm.
because we rely on, you're saying, Mr. Feeney, I know that you're looking to check out on Friday, but we have a special, and so band is playing at the local convention center or
Mm-hmm.
arena, and this is the rate, and so those are conversations you'd have. Those conversations now have to be put into a medium that's the new traveler is used to. And again, the higher up you go, the more services and touch points you get. So
Fair.
the expectation is the same. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you another example. White linens, duvets, etc. That was for luxury hotels. Now it's the standard. I'm not sure when the last time I checked into a hotel and I saw a flower pattern on the bed or things of that nature. You really don't see it. White is the symbol of cleanliness. And so you see that everywhere. You see that all the way down to your limited service, economy, all the way through luxury. Now, the thread counts and all those things could be argued to be different with higher counts, et cetera. But again, it becomes the standard, the norm,
Mm.
and executing it on different levels is the smart BI that you need to utilize.
And that's a good point, and that probably is the answer, in the sense that yes, if you go into a hotel and you can now WhatsApp down to reception whatever you want.
Yes.
You could be 50 plus and think that is the worst service on the planet. I cannot believe I have to WhatsApp reception. And then the younger generation could be thinking, oh my God, this is brilliant. I
Yes.
get to just use my own phone and WhatsApp. So I suppose, yes, there probably will be a break over the next 20 years between, I guess just different traveler types. And then of course, I mean, I guess I have ChatGPT now anyway, but if in a bedroom in a hotel, but I'm in a new city in a country I'm not familiar with, to be able to speak to the hotel AI and just ask about restaurants, bars, what's happening in town. I'm looking for a comedy club. I'm in Germany, so I can't even speak the language, and yet the AI will just come back with exactly what I want, and maybe the hotel even books tickets for me. So yes, it's probably on the other side of it very exciting, where God knows where the technology could go. But okay, so forgive me. So to push just a little bit further, for the hotel owner of a small independent hotel listening to this might be thinking, oh my God, like what do I play with? So if you were giving advice to a hotel owner that is, you need to get into the world of AI, and you have to use automations and AI now to try and streamline your hotel, where do they start? What's a simple first step for them to try and start looking at the hotel? Is there an example? Because I do hear these conversations, but hotel owners are still struggling with, okay, I get it in theory, make it efficient, but I really don't know where to start and what to do.
Well, the brands have been using AI for quite a long time. They
Mm,
use their AI in their services as it relates to revenue management. And so that is an example of AI's utilization. And so with that being said, I mentioned to you our white labeled Muse is a
mm,
heavy AI driven company. Futuristic investments into things for 5 years down the line they're working on right now in testing. And so your PMS system that you utilize should have, and you should look for AI built into it and options in AI, not just handling your reservations or the opaque third-party intermediaries. It should also be looking at for you when to schedule the pay bills. There's a
mm,
science to that, to maintain as much of your accounts receivables in your account and your payables time to go out in that fashion. And then the scheduling aspect of it. How do I schedule for multiple occupancies inside of room types, not just the overall occupancy? How do you eliminate overtime? Overtime is an expense that hardly anyone budgets for. And so
mhm,
this is where AI comes into play. AI also has the ability to shop prices for you. Back in the day, you would have, your different food vendors and you would price all three and you'd have a spreadsheet and you see who's cheapest and you would work on that. And how it worked was, one wanted your business, they got the prices in for you really low. And then from there, they creeped it up slowly. And next thing you know it, 3 months from now, you're back at the prices that you walked away from your other person
mhm.
for. Well, AI does that for you. It shops utilities, all your other expenses, etc.
Mhm.
And so those are the things that by looking at who you partner with as it relates to your PMS, etc., you can handle. Even to the point where there's companies out there that have the ability to use AI to answer your phone, to
Mhm.
then create emails, send those emails to a customer or into a person working at the hotel and take care of that, which cuts down the labor. There's companies that have the efficiencies where AI monitors heat and cool, where the exhausting of the cooling creates heat. In some parts of the building, you need that heat, it utilizes that, and vice versa. And so it looks at many different things that we don't even look at. When you're forecasting for, your hotel's overall occupancy, AI looks at weather patterns, pricing as it relates to airline tickets, events that happen historically and that are to happen. And it scans so many different things that a revenue manager on property wouldn't have the ability in an 8-hour day to do such. And it does that
Mhm.
on an everyday basis, 365 days a year for you and calculates and helps you make those changes.
Are a lot of the larger hotel summits almost hiring for this role now? Because, like, I know you're saying the AI does it, but almost that the person who's now working with the AI does need to almost like a bit of a high level tech background, that there's a comfortability with, managing data in this way. Is it becoming a new role?
I think information technology roles are starting to grow
Mm.
within the hospitality business. You see that a lot within, the blue chip companies, that they have those roles and all because they want to be able to master that AI so that one, it has the efficiencies, but that it comes across as a human traits that are involved in it.
Mm.
And when you look at the difference between ChatGPT and Claude,
Mhm.
it's night and day.
Okay, well, I think there's two large insights, but I think if you're a small hotel or a small hotel group and you're considering getting into AI automation, that you're almost, never mind being overwhelmed with everything it can do, partner with a company that is taking AI seriously, and that that they themselves as a company is now trying to work with AI, so that once you partner with them, you know that every additional benefit that they add on to their system will be added into your kind of a contract regardless. So it's kind of you're partnering with the right company and that you're going to go on this AI journey with. So it sounds like you need to do your research in whatever country you're in and find the right hospitality AI partner to grow with. And they probably should have onboarding and training as part of that. So would that be a
Absolutely.
fair like insight number one?
Yes, absolutely. And you look at before when people were looking at cloud integration,
Mm.
cloud integration, getting those servers off property, having things stored in the cloud, that was a step. So now when you look at, these systems and technology, what you want to be able to do is you want to try to ensure that part of the growth of that system, part of the ability to have more add-ons to that system are included in
Mhm.
your monthly fees, just like you paid originally for the cloud services. Each month you paid to, have that cloud service. And so what could that mean? That could mean having your surveillance cameras being monitored by AI. That could mean having the air that comes through your water lines being monitored to discount your water bill, having the fluctuations in electricity where you're being charged for the peaks, but then when you have
Mhm.
a drop, you're not getting a discount. Having AI look at things like that, and so that is important, for you to look at for the future. And those future things I talked about are going to be what I call those add-ons. And so if not, what's going to happen is you get a really great base, and then every little thing you have to pay extra for.
Exactly. And I think that's, yeah. I mean, we use Go High Level, but again, I have a specialist on the team that is constantly training me and our clients because, the automations and workflows, they're right there. And again, they're not complicated. If you sat down for a few days, I'm sure anyone with patience would figure it out. But there's a big difference between kind of knowing it on paper and really having a true understanding of it. And I think you can kind of get really lost in it. Thomas, thank you. So, just in general, having worked in this association for years, to sort of take a step back, what do you see as a sort of separation between good hotels and great hotels?
Well, good hotels are hotels that are, good brand citizens, hotels that maintain cleanliness, hotels that maintain the ability to offer a nice room at a good price, etc. Great hotels, hotels that think about the customers' wants, have a CRM that is so powerful that they know when Mr. Feeney checks in that he likes a certain type of water, he likes a certain type of pillow, he, likes a certain type of snack, room facing of the building, the red bed type, all those different things, the temperature of the room when he arrives, etc. Accomplishing all those things and accomplishing that service and that follow-up and that human interaction, those are great hotels. And so people will pay more for a great hotel. The expectation is to have the good hotel. And anything underneath that good hotel, you're looking at people that shy away from it and they lose their share. So how do you accomplish that great hotel when you are being tasked with lower bodies, higher efficiencies, things of that nature? By utilizing the AI, it could free up your general manager to do more guest interactions, to greet people, to make those calls, follow-up calls to rooms, to be in the breakfast area during breakfast and lunch and dinner, to stroll the property, to be interacting with the guests in a casual way. And then the other thing too is with a great hotel, you're looking at from a clean hotel to a spotless hotel. A hotel where you walk in and you're like, wow. It could be a property that's 15 years old, but it looks just like it was renovated yesterday. And those are the difference. And when you have management groups or general managers that strive for that level, you see the big difference. And so at the end of the day, the model always is if you have great leadership from the top all the way down and an informed staff, you're going to have a great hotel.
Thomas, thank you very much for chatting today. If anyone wants to learn a little bit about yourself or a little bit more about the association, just point them in the right direction.
Yes, Thomas at AAHOA, AAHOA.com. And we have our big show in Anaheim in May in California, our AAHOA our yearly convention, which features a lot of the technology and the EDU sessions. So I'd love to see everyone at our AAHOA, and you can get that on our website.
And anyone can go to that? You don't have to be a member? Is that open to the public?
It's open to the public. You can go as a non-member and pay as a non-member. So it's www.
Fantastic. Thomas, thank you very much.
Paul, my pleasure.